It's Charter Local Edition. Brad Pomerance here in Palm Springs today at the California State Association of Counties Convention, and we are joined by John Peschong. You probably know his name. He's been a political consultant for years. That's how I've known you, but he made the leap. He decided to run for the Board of Supervisors in San Luis Obispo County, and guess what? He won. Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much.
In November, you won. Talk to us about that leap. I mean, it's a big leap, one that's not often taken from consultant to candidate.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of like burning the boat when you're boarding the other boat. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time on the campaign. We met a lot of voters. We walked over 14,000 houses, knocked on their doors, talked to them about issues and ideas that will make our lives better in San Luis Obispo County, and it was a blast.
What made you decide to do this? Because look, again, I've known your name for years as really an outstanding tactician in terms of political campaigns. You know, running for office is one thing. Then serving in office, a completely different beast.
It is. That's why I'm here at this meeting
to learn about counties.
About the counties and get with other colleagues that have won and talk to them about what they're going to get accomplished. But it was
what
issues
spoke
that
to you?
It was issues that drove me. I mean, it was issues that I believe that the candidates that were running weren't going to address. One of those was gangs and gang-related crime and drugs in our community. Second one was taxes. You know, there was a number of tax issues on the ballot, and I felt that those taxes were going to hurt our working families in San Luis Obispo County and North San Luis Obispo County, Paso Robles and Templeton, you know, San Miguel and Shandon, the communities that I represent.
So let's talk about some of the issues that faced you during the campaign.
You bet.
And one of them being crime.
Yeah.
And I really want to dig deep into this because, as you know, 5-6 years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that California's prisons were unconstitutionally overcrowded. And what did that do? It sent into motion a whole stream of criminal reform measures that have resulted in a completely different way to incarcerate. We had AB 109, which sent lower level offenders from prisons to jails. Prop 47 reclassified a lot of felonies to misdemeanors. Now Prop 57 just passed, which guarantees a right to parole constitutionally.
Yes, it does.
I mean, this is a different world than, you know, lock them up, throw away the key.
Yeah. And I think I've seen that in the crime statistics in our community, that community, you know, crime is up. And it's certainly in North County. We had a gang problem. We still have a gang problem in the community.
We know, I think it's fair to say that most folks, left, right, and center, would say that criminal justice reform has brought a spike in property crimes.
I
Those
think so.
statistics are pretty clear.
Yep.
Violent crime, we're not clear, we're not sure, but it really does beg the question. You've been in politics for years. You remember the 90s.
Yeah.
Any measure that increased sentences passed overwhelmingly. Now, the governor won't sign measures that increase sentences because we can't, arguably, because of the Supreme Court case. So talk to us about the balance. I mean, the county runs a jail. You know, you got to deal with those issues.
And I do think too, but a lot of I think what I see in my community, you know, and on the campaign we had many debates about crime in the community, and violent crimes, and there was people that actually argue that violent crimes are decreasing, you know, and maybe in some of the cities, but representing the county, you know, the sheriff is his hands are tied on a lot of these issues. Ian Parkinson, who's a great sheriff, but he, you know, from a funding standpoint, he doesn't get the things that I think the tools he needs to actually combat it. And over the last month in San Luis Obispo County, North San Luis Obispo County, there's been 6 or 7 armed robberies.
Why?
You know?
Do we have a sense? Is there a link? Are they drug driven?
I believe they're drug driven, but I don't know that for a fact yet. So, but my hunch is that they're drug driven. But one of my goals from the beginning of this campaign is trying to get additional funding for the sheriff so he can actually fill some positions and put some more sheriff's deputies on the streets.
So it's interesting because you, as a supervisor, do have budgetary authority.
That's correct.
Over the elected sheriff.
Yes.
And so presumably you can work to increase funding. You need 2 other votes, but be that as it may. Do you feel as if the voters of the entire county are on board with more funding to your sheriff?
I think so. You know, and certainly in my district they are, and in the districts that I've talked to, I think that people believe that, you know, the serenity of our communities, and I mean, we are San Luis Obispo County.
Yes, you are.
The serenities of our community are threatened, especially when gas stations are being held up by gunpoint to take, you know, small amounts of money, you know, to be able to feed a drug habit, and so we do have, you know, we have over 800 known gang members in our county. The sheriff keeps tabs on those, but, you know, being able to increase, which we talked about about the last time I was on your show. You know, that the sheriff's gang task
Right.
force. You know, the drug task force is another one.
Let me
you know?
ask you more about drugs, because there is now one substance that is a drug, but is now legal in California.
It is.
And that is marijuana. And the voters of California passed it overwhelmingly, 57% of the vote. The voters of San Luis Obispo County, a purple county, some places red, some blue, voted in favor.
Yeah, I'm still, and we're going to obviously when the clerk releases the vote results, we'll have a pretty good idea of where it won and where it didn't win. But I will tell you that it's like medical marijuana too. And I met with a number of the medical marijuana proponents during the campaign, and they were voting no on Prop 64. And
I know there were concerns.
Yeah, there were concerns
but
with it.
Here's the point, Supervisor. Despite all the concerns, we have a system of government in California
That's
that
exactly
allows,
right. It
you
does.
know better than
You bet.
I, that
Yep.
the voters
Yep. have spoken.
They
have
drafted
spoken.
an initiative.
And the way
they've
it's
spoken.
drafted too is it gives a timeline for the counties to be able to manage it themselves. You know,
Now-
and if they don't, of course, then the state will step in and then tell them what is legal and what's not.
And let's talk about that management, because when you combine the language of 64 with a California Supreme Court case out of Riverside City, you have land use authority.
Yes.
So you can decide if you wanted it in all unincorporated San Luis Obispo County, no brick and mortar, no cultivation,
That's
no
right.
indoor, no outdoor.
Yeah. And you know, that's
What do you
where
think?
that's where I stood, you know, for the medical marijuana. No bricks and mortar. There's over 100 different mobile dispensaries that will go in the community that deliver it to the people that need it, that have cancer, and they use it as medicine. And I think we're going to need to look at that again and really decide. Some of the
Because-
cities are going to decide
right.
on bricks and mortar.
Because one could argue, sir, that look, if you want to use marijuana and it's legal, if you have to drive over the Monterey County line, which is right above you in San
Yes,
Luis
it is.
Obispo County, and then drive back, I mean, you may get stoned there. Is that really to the benefit of
The safety,
North County?
the safety of the community,
Right.
You know, and so you have to balance all of those. I believe all those safety issues, you know, and being able to do it. One of the things that I found too is the edibles that everybody talks about, the gummy bears and the
It's so
candy.
funny you say that, because I have a friend who told me she used an edible. She has a medical marijuana card. Wow. It just threw her for a complete loop, because you don't really know about dosing.
That's right.
But under 64, I believe there
Yes.
is going to be regulation
They are.
to work on
But
dosing.
the question I have then for the industry is, why are they making candy, you know, in medical form? And you know, if it's medicine or now it's recreational, I'm sorry, but if you can't even put Joe Camel on television to advertise a cigarette because it attracts children to the product, why are they allowed to market
well,
it as
I guess
as
the argument would go, you know, it's better than inhalation, smoke inhalation.
Okay.
I mean,
Right,
what do I know?
But you know,
Yeah.
if people want to turn it into some sort of food product at their house, you know,
Right.
but if you're going to sell it in bricks and mortar, I have a little bit of a
So
problem with
what
that
do you
one.
do, sir? You're
You know,
now on the Board of
yeah.
Supervisors.
I
You
think
have a
there's
say.
I think there's ways to make ordinances, you know, that people still have access to it, but in only certain forms. And the other one is
But
organics.
could you, let me ask you, I mean, could you say we will allow brick and mortar, but you can't sell candy?
Well, it's most likely the bricks and mortar will be in the cities, not in the county. The
Okay.
county will be an agricultural base, so it's
So are
probably
you going to
the
allow
growing.
cultivation?
Well, right now we have cultivation in the county.
Legal?
Yep, legal cultivation in the county for medical marijuana, and it's been going on for a long time.
And has there been an issue?
Not so far. I mean,
Okay.
we had the big issue in California Valley, you know,
Right.
where they wanted to
Oh,
put
yeah, I
the
remember
ordinance,
that.
you know, and the sheriff had,
Right, I
you
remember
know,
that,
and
yes.
came in and asked for an ordinance to be able to deal with the California Valley situation,
Right.
with the many grows that were there. But I believe that it's going to be, as we've just discussed,
Sure.
this is going to be one of the biggest issues that faces us over the next year.
His name is John Peschong. He just won a seat on the Board of Supervisors in San Luis Obispo County. We're at CSAC today in Palm Springs. I'm Brad Pomerance. Charter Local Edition.
Thank you
You
very
won!
much. Yeah.